Good evening, viewers. I am Adrian Simpsons, and this is your Late Night Inc. news bulletin. Let's start with the story shaping the conversation right now. December has begun tragically, with 8 people losing their lives in 2 separate crashes in Mpumalanga. Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero survives yet another motion of no confidence after coalition partners withdraw their challenge. Former Ekurhuleni city manager Imogen Mashazi faces mounting criticism over her testimony at the Madlanga Commission. Deputy Minister Phaahla dismisses allegations of plotting to remove President Ramaphosa as utter rubbish. And 2 apartheid-era police officers are found guilty of murdering student activist Caiphus Nyoka nearly 4 decades ago. South Africa's festive season has begun with tragedy on the roads. 8 people have lost their lives in 2 separate crashes involving public transport in Mpumalanga province, prompting urgent calls for motorists to exercise caution during wet weather conditions. The first incident occurred on Monday afternoon along the R33 between Mkhondo and Amsterdam. A bus carrying passengers lost control and overturned, and 5 people lost their lives at the scene. Provincial authorities confirmed that 6 additional passengers sustained serious injuries, while 20 others were treated for minor injuries. The bus was traveling from Johannesburg when the driver reportedly lost control of the vehicle. Mpumalanga Department of Community Safety spokesperson Moeti Musi confirmed that investigations are underway, with wet road conditions suspected to have played a significant role. The driver was among those injured and was transported to a hospital in Mkhondo along with other passengers. In a separate incident on the same day, 3 people lost their lives when a minibus taxi collided with a truck on the R38 between Badplaas and Barberton. Details surrounding the circumstances of this crash remain under investigation. Mpumalanga Department of Public Works, Roads and Transport, Thulasizwe Thomo, expressed his condolences to the families affected. He stated that it is saddening to receive news that 8 people perished in 2 separate public transport crashes, especially as the province enters the busy festive season period. He extended heartfelt condolences to the families, friends, and loved ones who lost their lives and wished all those injured a speedy recovery. The MEC also issued a stern warning to all road users. He cautioned public transport operators to ensure that their vehicles are roadworthy, to avoid speeding, to only overtake when safe to do so, and to exercise patience when driving during the busy festive season. Community Safety, Security and Liaison, Jackie Macy, echoed these concerns, appealing to drivers to adjust their driving in line with prevailing road conditions. He emphasized that every driver must prioritize their own safety and that of other road users. Long-distance drivers, he noted, must rest sufficiently along the way to avoid fatigue-related incidents. The R33 stretch between Mkhondo and Amsterdam has been described by locals as particularly dangerous, especially during periods of heavy rain. Residents have taken to social media to express frustration over the condition of the route, with many noting that accidents occur regularly on this road during the rainy season. Comments range from condolences to urgent pleas for better road maintenance and stricter monitoring of long-distance operators. With thousands of South Africans preparing to travel to and from Mpumalanga for the festive season, these crashes serve as a sobering reminder of the dangers on the country's roads. Authorities have emphasized the need for heightened vigilance, proper vehicle maintenance, and adherence to traffic regulations to prevent further tragedies. The province has witnessed numerous fatal accidents throughout the year, many occurring on major routes and involving public transport vehicles. Road safety experts continue to stress that driver behavior, vehicle roadworthiness, and adverse weather conditions remain the leading contributors to road fatalities. As the investigation into Monday's crashes continues, families in Mpumalanga and Gauteng mourn the loss of loved ones who never completed their journeys. The Department of Community Safety has promised to provide further updates as more information becomes available. Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero has survived yet another attempt to remove him from office after minority parties withdrew a motion of no confidence that was scheduled to be heard in council on Tuesday. The motion was originally filed by the Al Jamaa Party and seconded by the United Democratic Movement and the African Transformation Movement. These smaller parties, which form part of the coalition government, had claimed they lost confidence in the mayor's leadership, citing poor service delivery, administrative instability, and his failure to consult coalition partners on key decisions. However, following a meeting of coalition partners on Monday night, the parties agreed to withdraw the motion and instead address their grievances through roundtable discussions. The decision came after the African National Congress-led coalition convened to discuss the motion and other matters affecting governance in the city. UDM councillor Yongama Zigebe explained the decision to pull the motion at the last minute. He stated that the other partners agreed that they feel the pain of the minority parties, but suggested that they have a word instead of pursuing a motion of no confidence. He emphasized that their discontent is not with the ANC itself, but specifically with its leader in the city. The motion against Morero was formally withdrawn during Tuesday's council meeting by former Johannesburg Mayor Kabelo Gwamanda. Gwamanda acknowledged that the executive mayor took it upon himself to engage the affected parties, who then decided to withdraw the motion. He thanked the Patriotic Alliance, the African Transformation Movement, and the African People's Convention for their assistance in resolving the matter. Following the withdrawal of the motion against Morero, several other motions were also retracted. These included motions that ANC councillors had lodged against Al-Jamaah's Thapelo Ahmad, the UDM's Yongama Zigebe, and the ATM's Lubalalo Magwetshu, all of whom are chairpersons of various Section 79 committees. However, ANC councillors who withdrew these motions issued a warning to the minority parties. While agreeing to the withdrawal, they made it clear that they were doing so because of the agreements reached during negotiations. One councillor stated that while they were withdrawing the motions, this does not mean they have forgotten the actions of the minority parties. This marks the second time in 2025 that Mayor Morero has survived a motion of no confidence. In June, he survived an attempt by the Democratic Alliance to remove him from office, winning by 144 votes to 75. During Tuesday's council opening, Morero praised the work that the city of Johannesburg had done in ensuring that last week's G20 summit became a success. He used the opportunity to highlight the achievements of his administration while acknowledging the ongoing challenges facing the city. The political reprieve comes at a crucial time for Morero, who is also facing a challenge within the ANC. He is expected to contest his position as ANC Johannesburg regional chairperson at the party's regional conference, which begins on Wednesday at the Cedar Woods Hotel in Woodmead. He faces a challenge from the city's finance MMC and ANC regional deputy secretary, Loyiso Masuku. Whoever emerges as ANC chairperson from this conference stands a strong chance of becoming the mayor of the city of Johannesburg. The outcome of this internal party election could determine not only Morero's future as regional leader, but also his tenure as the city's executive mayor. Political analysts note that while Morero has survived this latest challenge, the underlying tensions within the coalition remain unresolved. The decision to withdraw the motion appears to be a temporary truce rather than a lasting resolution to the governance issues facing Johannesburg. Meanwhile, critics of the mayor, including Action SA leader Herman Mashaba, continue to voice their dissatisfaction with service delivery in the city. The coming days will reveal whether the roundtable discussions produce meaningful changes or whether the political instability will resurface in the near future. The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry has heard explosive testimony from former Ekurhuleni city manager Imogen Mashazi, but her appearance has raised as many questions as it has answered. The 65-year-old administrator, who managed a budget worth 65 billion rand during her tenure, has been accused of failing to take decisive action on serious allegations involving the Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Police Department. Mashazi testified on Monday before the commission, which is investigating allegations of political meddling, corruption, and criminal misconduct within the justice sector. Her testimony was marked by unusual behavior, including putting on lipstick, sticking her tongue out, pulling faces, and scrolling on her phone during proceedings. Evidence leader advocate Mahlape Sello was visibly frustrated when Mashazi's attention appeared divided. When the advocate confronted her directly, pointing out that she could not hear because she was on her phone, Mashazi insisted she was checking for evidence, which she never produced. At the heart of the inquiry are allegations that Mashazi failed to act on serious claims of harassment within the EMPD. She testified that allegations were first raised in 2016 by victims who reported them directly to her. Yet, until her retirement in July 2025, The only step she took was to introduce an empowerment program intended to help women law enforcement officers. Under questioning, Mashazi directly implicated suspended Metro Police Chief Jabulani Isaac Mapiyeye, accusing him of fathering multiple children with staff members in the EMPD. She stated that it was reported to her that Mapiyeye engaged in conduct amounting to harassment and fathering multiple children with subordinates who were vulnerable to his abuse of power. Mashazi acknowledged that abuse of female staff members in the EMPD was widespread, involving anyone in the department who chose to exploit women. However, she claimed that because there was no formal complaint from anyone, she could not take action, describing the allegations as hearsay and frustration from the victims. This explanation did not satisfy the commission. Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga, the commission chairperson, tore through her testimony and chastised her for doing absolutely nothing to assist the victims and instead sitting with folded arms. Under this scrutiny, Mashazi conceded, acknowledging that she takes the point that doing the empowerment program was not enough. Commissioner Advocate Sesi Baloyi noted that as municipal manager, Mashazi knew there were serious problems in the EMPD, yet launched no investigation. She pressed Mashazi repeatedly, asking whether she had evidence to support her claims. Mashazi deflected by firing back with unrelated counter-questions, prompting Baloyi to remind her firmly that she was the one being questioned, not the other way around. The second focus of Mashazi's testimony concerned suspended EMPD Deputy Chief Julius Mkhwanazi and allegedly questionable deals with businessman Vusimuzi Matlala. Mkhwanazi is linked to a murder case and accused of running a rogue unit allegedly involved in extortion, kidnapping, theft, and truck hijackings. Evidence before the commission revealed that Mkhwanazi unlawfully signed memoranda of understanding with Matlala's company to fit blue lights in his private vehicles. Despite receiving an independent police investigative directorate report recommending that Mkhwanazi face disciplinary processes for fraud and corruption, Mashazi took no action. When questioned about this, Mashazi provided contradictory statements. In a previous interview, she claimed that an internal audit report had cleared Mkhwanazi, stating he had done nothing wrong. At the commission, however, she could not recall when she received this report and suggested that the IPID report was vague and contained gross misconduct because it lacked necessary attachments. Her testimony was marked by dismissive responses, including repeated use of phrases such as, "I take your point," "no comment," and "I will talk to my lawyers," when asked serious questions. At one point, she complained that the toughness of the commission would give her a stroke. Commissioner Baloyi reprimanded Mashazi for her conduct, noting that her demeanor and responses suggested she may not be taking the process as seriously as the commission was taking it. When given an opportunity to comment, Mashazi simply responded with, "No comment." Justice Madlanga addressed concerns raised by Mashazi's legal representatives about prejudice she is receiving from social media. He clarified that what is important is what comes out of the commission, and not what members of the public perceive. He emphasized that the commissioners are interested only in the content of the evidence and how they will assess it in the end. Mashazi is expected to continue her testimony on Tuesday. The commission's findings could have significant implications for how her tenure as Ekurhuleni's first female city manager is remembered, and whether those implicated in the allegations she has made will face consequences. The case highlights ongoing challenges in South African public administration, where accountability for senior officials remains a persistent concern. Deputy Minister of Health Joe Phaahla has vehemently denied allegations that he is part of a plot to remove President Cyril Ramaphosa from office, calling the claims utter rubbish and pure hogwash. The allegations emerged over the weekend in a Sunday World report which named Phaahla, alongside Deputy Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies Monli Gungubeli, as key figures in an alleged faction seeking to unseat Ramaphosa as both ANC president and head of state. According to the report, Ramaphosa's intense reaction at a recent ANC National Executive Committee meeting was directed at Gungubeli and Phaahla. Multiple NEC members, speaking anonymously, claimed that although Ramaphosa did not mention the two by name, his pointed glance toward them as he declared awareness of comrades lobbying for his removal made his message unmistakable. In a strongly worded statement released on Monday, Phaahla rejected the allegations outright. He stated that he regards the claims that he is plotting to oust President Ramaphosa as utter rubbish and pure hogwash, adding that he lacks the adjectives to adequately describe their absurdity. Phaahla described the allegations as fabrications and the work of desperate individuals attempting to drive a wedge between himself, as an NEC member and lifelong activist of the African National Congress for nearly 5 decades, and his president. He invoked the legacy of former ANC leader Oliver Reginald Tambo, cautioning that wedge drivers who sow suspicion, division, and mistrust within the party's ranks have always posed a danger to the movement. He emphasized that his commitment to supporting Ramaphosa is based on his long experience and belief in the ANC's mission to serve the people of South Africa. Gungubeli also issued a strong denial on his social media account, dismissing the allegations as requiring psychiatric assessment. He stated that it must be part of sickness to assert falsehood at all costs, and that any suggestion that he is part of a movement to remove the current president of the ANC is baseless. The denials come just days before the ANC's National General Council, scheduled to take place from December 8th to 12th at the Birchwood Hotel. The NGC is the party's midterm policy review, and there has been speculation that rival factions might use the platform to test support before the next elective conference in 2027. However, the ANC has moved swiftly to close ranks around Ramaphosa. Party spokesperson Malengi Bhengu described the allegations as deliberately designed to manufacture divisions where none exist and to distract from the party's core mission of renewal, which is rooted in unity, service to the people, and strengthening ethical and accountable democratic governance. ANC Secretary-General Fikile Mbalula dismissed reports of a leadership struggle, stating that there is no leadership struggle at all and that the party is closing ranks. He emphasized that these are stories plotted deliberately by forces from within and outside the movement who are hell-bent on disintegrating the ANC. Mbalula reaffirmed confidence in Ramaphosa's leadership, describing him as a leader with thick skin who understands his responsibilities. He clarified that the NGC would focus on reviewing and renewing the implementation of resolutions from the ANC's 2022 National Conference, not on removing the president. 3 key ANC structures have also rallied behind Ramaphosa. The ANC Youth League, Women's League, and Veterans League each issued statements publicly backing the president and condemning the plot claims as baseless. Youth League Secretary-General Mintuwaxolo Ngudle stated that they reject with contempt the baseless claims that there are any plans to recall President Ramaphosa. He described these fabrications as seeking to weaken and derail the ANC precisely as it approaches the NGC. The Women's League Secretary-General Nokuthula Nkaba cautioned against those who meet in dark corners and connive for the demise of the president, which she described as detrimental to the renewal of the ANC and clean governance which the president is advocating. ANC Veterans League President Snooky Zikalala emphasized that if the party does not have confidence in its leadership, how can it expect the people to have confidence in them? He warned that such calls, 11 months before local government elections, will lead to certain defeat at the polls and a collapse of the ANC. The rumors of attempts to remove Ramaphosa reportedly gained prominence 2 weeks ago at an NEC meeting in Germiston. Initial accounts suggested that Ramaphosa challenged some members directly, telling those discussing his removal privately to stop operating in dark corners and to give him a date and time if they wanted him gone. However, the ANC has since denied that these words were ever spoken. Political observers note that while the NGC is officially focused on policy and strategy, the ANC constitution does allow for leadership changes at this level. However, party officials have made it clear that this will not be entertained at the upcoming gathering. As the NGC approaches, the ANC appears determined to present a united front, though questions remain about underlying tensions within the party as it prepares for local government elections next year and the national conference in 2027. The Johannesburg High Court has delivered a landmark judgment in a case dating back nearly 4 decades. 2 former apartheid-era police officers have been found guilty of murdering student activist Caiphus Nyoka, who was shot and killed in his Davidton home in August 1987. Judge Mohammed Ismail handed down the judgment on Tuesday, finding Sergeants Abraham Engelbrecht and Peter Stander guilty of the crime. However, the court acquitted Major Leon van den Berg, ruling that the state failed to prove its case against him beyond a reasonable doubt. Nyoka was a prominent 23-year-old student leader at the time of his death. He was a member of the Congress of South African Students, the South African Youth Congress, and served as organizer of the Transvaal Students' Congress in the East Rand. He was also the president of the Student Representative Council at Mabuya High School in Davidton. Known for his courage and organizing skills, Nyoka played a critical role in mobilizing young people in the struggle against apartheid policies. His activism made him a target of the apartheid security establishment, which regarded him as a threat to the regime. On the evening of August 23, 1987, apartheid police officers met to discuss a plan to eliminate Nyoka. In the early hours of August 24th, at approximately 2:30 in the morning, the officers arrived at Nyoka's homestead and stormed his room. They found him sleeping with 3 friends. After identifying Nyoka, they removed his friends from the room. Prosecutors contended that apartheid police made Nyoka their special project and that it was their mission to kill him, which is why Engelbrecht wore a balaclava during the raid. An inquest into Nyoka's death in the late 1990s found that police had acted in self-defense and deemed the shooting justifiable. However, the case was reopened after a 2019 confession by one of the officers, Johan Marais, led to the prosecution of the former apartheid police members. Marais, a former East Rand Reaction Unit officer, admitted to the killing and pleaded guilty. He was sentenced to 15 years imprisonment in July 2025. Judge Mokina Mosopa, in sentencing Marais, lamented that his political masters were not on trial, noting they were responsible for the draconian and racist laws that allowed him to carry out the assassination. The pursuit of justice for Nyoka has been led by his surviving siblings, Alegria, Sarah, Nkateko, Jobia, Mothasi, and Titus. The family described the moment as bittersweet, as their parents died without ever knowing the truth of what happened on that fateful night. Alegria Nyoka, the eldest of the siblings, stated that she thinks her brother's spirit fought for justice, and the family is happy that eventually one of the killers confessed and has been sentenced. The perseverance of the Nyoka family, combined with years of legal support and sustained advocacy by the Foundation for Human Rights and law firm Weber Wenzel, led to indictments being issued against Nyoka's killers in 2022 and 2024 respectively. As Judge Ismail handed down Tuesday's detailed judgment, the accused sat closely next to each other while Sergeants Engelbrecht and Stander regularly hung their heads. According to the law, the bail of both men must expire now that they have been convicted. However, they have brought a new bail application, which the court must now consider. The conviction of Engelbrecht and Stander represents a significant milestone in South Africa's ongoing efforts to address apartheid-era crimes. The case underscores the enduring need for victims of gross human rights violations to continue their pursuit of truth and justice. The National Prosecuting Authority welcomed the verdicts, stating that they reflect the commitment to ensuring accountability for atrocious crimes that were referred to the NPA by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Sentencing proceedings for Engelbrecht and Stander are expected to follow in the coming weeks. The outcome of this case serves as a reminder that impunity for apartheid crimes has no place in a democratic South Africa, even decades after the transition to democracy. That's the news for this bulletin. Don't forget to subscribe to get breaking news stories and in-depth analysis. I'm Adrian Simpsons for Inc. News. Thank you for watching.